Hi everyone, welcome to the Metaverse Podcast. I'm your host today, Charis Campbell. I'm Director in the Capital Markets team at Animoca. And today I have the privilege to be with Alex, the founder and CEO of Alphabot and Boost. Alex, what's going on?
Thanks so much for having me. We're out here in the very warm Dubai, but
It's getting toasty.
having a good time. It's a very productive week. A lot of meetings, a lot of great sessions with people like yourself, just talking about what we're doing here. And very excited to be here.
Look, it's the week of token. So if we start rambling, we're the Friday of token. I think I'm 6 days in of maybe one too many champagnes at night, a couple of parties. So look, if we start rambling, please forgive us, but I'm very, very excited to be here.
Likewise. Yeah, it's great attending all these different events, but it definitely takes a toll.
Yeah, there's too many.
Too many.
There's too many. There's like 400 events. I'm putting this down now. I think we should do less events. But anyway, let's get started. Alex, I want you to tell me about Alphabot. I want you to tell me about Boost. I want you to tell me a little bit about yourself.
For sure. So I'm Alex or Alexander. I'm from the Netherlands originally.
Nice.
I live in Dubai part-time.
Yeah.
And I've been in crypto since 2017. Started trading ICOs at first.
Nice.
Had a lot of fun with that. Some great success as well. And then in 2021, I got into NFTs like early on. A buddy of mine introduced me to the Bored Ape Yacht Club, and I was like, why should I be buying these like monkey JPEGs, right? That ended up being a very good decision. So got in early, then met a bunch of great people, a bunch of great ape holders as well. And we founded this community called the Ape List. And we basically started focusing on providing whitelist and value to people with Bored Apes, Mutant Apes, CryptoPunks, all that. And just provided a ton of value to the Yuga Labs ecosystem. And I think in the first 2 months, we grew from like 0 members to like thousands of apes. And we distributed like over $3 million in profit in terms of whitelist. So it was like huge value. It grew very rapidly. And then we're like,
how old are you at this stage? Where are you? Sitting in your mum's... Actually, Alex's mum is in the room right now. It's really cute. It's really sweet. So you're in Are you in the Netherlands? Are you in Holland?
That was back in Portugal.
Back in Portugal.
Yeah. So I was living between the Netherlands and Portugal.
Okay, but sorry, quickly. What's with the American accent? Did you go to international school?
I did go to international school.
What?
Yeah.
Are you a nepo baby, Alex?
Am I a what?
A nepo baby.
I don't know what that means.
A nepotist baby. It means that you have rich parents.
Oh.
And they send you to international school.
Well, I mean, they did all right. So I grew up in Portugal for about 5 years and went to international school there.
Nice.
Had a lot of American friends there as well.
That happens a lot, yeah.
And then went out to study in the U.S. for a little bit. And then, our company's based in the U.S. I interact with a lot of Americans every day. So it just kind of rubs off.
Yeah.
I've got some partners of ours there from the South. If I talk to them for too long,
you get the accent.
Yeah. I'll start talking with a Southern accent.
It's almost coming through now. I love it. So you're living between Netherlands and Portugal.
Yeah.
2021, it's booming. There's a lot of excitement going around. Everyone's talking about NFTs. Everyone's talking about digital property rights and what that can mean.
Yeah.
You created this community. It's going really, really well. Tell me what happens next.
Yeah, so actually, just before that, I had just gotten out of a very corporate job. I wrapped up my bachelor and master's degree and went on to work at a bank, one of Europe's largest banks, ING.
Oh, wow.
And I was an investment advisor there, and had a lot of fun, learned a lot. But I was one of the youngest on the team, and my colleagues had kids my age. So it was like a very different dynamic, and it was very much like a 9-to-5 culture. And I very quickly realized that is not for me, right?
Yeah.
And even before then, I've been starting different kinds of businesses since I'm 15, 16 years old. So I went around like selling websites to local restaurants, and then I started building software platforms. And so I've always been in that sort of entrepreneurial mindset, and I get that from my parents as well as my parents, my grandparents. Yeah, very entrepreneurial family.
It's in the DNA.
Yeah, you could say that. I've been brought up that way. So when I sort of saw this opportunity to do something in NFTs, right, in the Web3 space, it felt very natural to just take advantage of that, right? So, we came together. I have a few co-founders there. That's where I met, Justin and Billy and a bunch of great people. We came together, set up that community. It grew rapidly, but too fast, actually. Like, there was too many apes joining because it was like a no-brainer, right? Like, you can join this Discord, and you can potentially win some amazing whitelist. And back then, I don't know if you were trading NFTs back then, but like, you could get a free mint, and it would go to like, $20,000.
Those were the days. I mean, I was in Australia when it was 2021, and because of the internet speed in Australia, you would get in like 30 seconds late on all the
Oh,
whitelists. And
yeah.
so you would be up to like 1, 2 a.m., 3 a.m. And it was always delayed as
Yeah,
well. So you're
yeah.
like, oh, no, it's definitely going to happen. It's definitely going to
The
happen.
time zone would have been
The
rough. for
time
you,
zone
too.
was so rough. And I was like, can't go to sleep. And so there's so many 5 a.m.s where I'm like, I stayed up and I just didn't get anything out of it.
I remember waking up at like 4 a.m. to mint my Project Gojira.
Yeah.
That was, yeah,
Rough.
rough times.
Rough.
times.
Anyway, sorry, we digress.
No, so yeah, that was like the golden time to be in NFTs,
Yeah.
right? And it was we were growing so rapidly that we were like, hey, we have to add some structure to this because people were trying to abuse the system, right? They were joining with multiple accounts. We're like, okay, let's add structure. So we launched an NFT collection there called the A+ Pass, and went on to do some great things with that. And that was all basically to add structure. And once we launched that NFT collection as a way to sort of gate the community and gate these giveaways, we identified a problem, and nobody was solving it. So do you know Premint?
No.
Oh, okay. So Premint at the time was like the largest sort of giveaway platform.
Okay.
And everyone was using it for like, whitelist giveaways, and, people were using Google Forms. Like we were using Google Forms even just to do whitelist giveaways, and it was
wild.
a mess, right?
Yeah.
But Premint was, the sort of best available option in terms of, giveaways at the time. And we approached them and we said, hey, can you please add this one tiny little requirement for us? And, we'll pay you for it. And so we can use your tool to host our giveaways. And they didn't want to do it. They said, no, it's low priority. We can't do it for you. So because of that, we ended up meeting with Billy the Ape, who is now our CTO and co-founder. And he was already working on a little giveaway bot in Doodles Alpha. And that's actually where our name comes from as well. It was Doodles Alpha Bot. So then we removed the doodles because it was, for more than just doodles at that point. And that's how we got together. That's how we started. And it was all basically focused around like, hey, there's a problem. Nobody's solving it. So let's build our own solution. And we used it just for ourselves for, a month or two. And then other people were approaching us saying like, hey, can we use your tool? Like, this is great, right? And then it just kept growing from there. And people were, we were just really focusing on user feedback and just looking at, okay, what pain points do our users have? And one of the biggest pain points that our people had is they were winning too much. So, hey, I'm winning so many whitelists, I can't keep track of them. There's like 10 projects a day launching.
Great problem.
Yeah. Great problem, exactly. So that's when we're like, okay, what if we actually develop a calendar and then have all the launches on there, and then actually have the system remind you on the day of that launch that, hey, this is happening today at this time. Here's your whitelisted wallet address. So really just building more and more features to make life easier for our users.
And for yourself. I feel like
And
you
for
just,
ourselves.
just
Yeah.
created a product where you were so in the community and you're like, this is what I need. And if I need it, there must be thousands of other people that need it. And so you just went out and built it. So tell me, what is the difference between Alphabot and Boost, and how do they speak to each other?
Yeah, so they're very similar behind the scenes, but on the surface, from if you look at it, they're designed very differently. So Alphabot is very much Web3 focused, right? So it's very very advanced features, blockchain focused, a lot of crypto features, a lot of good stuff there. And Alphabot dominates the Web3 space for these types of campaigns, right? It's one of the largest engagement platforms and by far the biggest giveaway platform. And Boost is very much focused on the Web2 audience. So Boost is all about a simplified user interface. It's much more bright. It's much more simpler to understand, and also different integrations, right? Where Alphabot is focused on crypto integrations. Like, hey, hold this specific NFT, hold this token, or join this Telegram or Discord. On the Boost side, we're very much focused on follow this LinkedIn page, or subscribe to this YouTube channel, or follow this Twitch, or Kick, and all these great different channels that Web2 users are more focused on.
And so when we think about it, like raffles, quests, rewards, they're familiar concepts in Web 2. How do you think Web 3 enhances these models instead of just replicating them on chain?
When we look at Web 3, I would say that in Web 3, it's very normal to see these types of campaigns, right? It's normal to incentivize people because there's just so much going on, right? There's thousands of different projects you could go spend your time at, right? So attracting new community members, attracting activity, that's pretty normal in Web3, and incentivizing that. So when we take some of these concepts into a space where, they have the same problems, like every company, any creator or company, business, anyone in Web2 with an online presence needs engagement, right? So one of the most powerful ways to actually get that engagement is to have these incentives in place. And that's basically what we did now with Boost is we basically set up a platform where these creators and brands, they can come on, give away whatever they want. It could be a coupon, it could be a free product, it could be whatever incentive they prefer, and get solid, consistent engagement that way. So it's a very powerful way, if not the most powerful way to get a lot of engagement.
I had the pleasure of meeting your team. I actually also then took Alphabot and Boost to Animoca's, to our investment committee, and ultimately we made an investment into your company and into the project, which we were very excited about. One of the things that was, dare I say, slightly surprising is that you're profitable.
Yeah.
So,
yeah.
talk to me a little bit about those early growth stages where, as a founder, you're constantly trying to debate between profitability on day one, but then you also want to scale to then monetize. There's these kind of hard trade-offs that you have to make. So can you talk to us a little bit about that?
Yeah, for sure. And this is something that a lot of people are surprised about. Like, wow, you actually have a profitable business in crypto? Yeah.
It can happen. It does happen.
Well, it's all about finding, product market fit. It's about finding a product that people, actually want to use, that solves a problem, and that creates value, right? And the value for us is really clear. I mean, we've distributed over $1.5 billion in rewards over the past 3 years. So
that's incredible.
yes. And, when we look at the problems we solve and the creators we serve and the users that we help connect with these communities, they're very grateful and they're willing to pay for these services. And, we started Alphabot as, like I mentioned, like just a solution for ourselves, right? So we didn't start this thing thinking like, oh, we're going to build this out to, a multi-million-dollar business. It was more so like, hey, we've got a problem. We know other people are having this problem. Let's fix it. And we basically just scaled it up for about 6 months. We offered the product for free, just mass onboarded new users and creators. And then we were like, hey, our hosting bills are getting out of control here. We need to start monetizing this thing. Otherwise, we're going to run into issues. Now, fortunately, we were in a position where, we all had, me and the co-founders, we all had a lot of success already in the crypto space and Web3 space. So we were able to self-fund and bootstrap. But at one point, we were like, okay, we actually have to scale up. I was spending like my entire days just answering support tickets. And I'm like, I think we should hire a support team. So that's when we hired a 24/7 support team as well. And we were like, okay, we have to monetize this business. And we looked at a variety of different ways. So like one of the options, of course, was to launch an NFT for it. But we didn't feel like that was the right play because it's very much like a one-time revenue generation. And it's not sustainable. So we were looking at, okay, we know this is going to be, as long as Web3 is a thing, Alphabot will be around. So we know this is going to be a long-term business. And how do we set up a sustainable business model? Well, and the best way, of course, is subscription. So that's when we designed a whole subscription model around, access for creators and then also access for individual users where they get, supercharged access to Web3. And, designing a business model that's, sustainable is probably the most important thing because it's allowed us to build, throughout the bear as well. So even when, the NFT space went down, we had this sort of recurring revenue coming in, and that gave us the flexibility to, continue building, add more features where now we've been able to expand, massively within crypto as well. Like we're not just an NFT platform anymore. We now have token communities. We have meme coins. We have all these great projects using our tools. And that's all because we were basically able to keep building, right? And that's super important.
Talk to me about the Web2 clients that you've worked with as well, because I think that's pretty interesting.
Yeah. So we were actually able to onboard some of the biggest YouTubers in the world. So that was the Sidemen, and of course, Sidemen has it's a collective of YouTubers, and one of them is KSI, so some really, really big names. And that was for their Sidemen charity match, and we had 38 of the biggest YouTubers there, Mr. Beast, Kai Cenat, Speed, and fortunately, we were able to meet many of those as well and their management. So
that's very cool.
Yeah. And those are great relationships because what we noticed, yes, you need to have a good product, but when it comes to relationships like these, it's more about that personal connection. It's like, hey, building the trust, building the rapport and the credibility. So we now have that credibility because we were able to work with these people. So you bet you when, they're hosting their next campaigns, we'll be high up on the list, right? So and that's the beautiful part because every big creator or even small creators, they're hosting these giveaways already. And that's basically the goal here is to establish Boost as the new global standard for giveaways. And that's why these partnerships with, the Sidemen or just now we did Noah Schnapp as well in partnership with Amazon. Those are huge partnerships that sort of really establish us as that new global standard. And that's most important because what they're doing right now, Charis, it's ridiculous. Like they're still using Google Forms. They're doing things just manually in their Instagram posts, right? There's no transparency, no bot protection, no engagement verification. It's ridiculous, and they shouldn't be doing that. And we're basically coming in from a unique position here where we have the experience, we have the technology, where we can actually come in with a significantly better solution and basically solve that problem for them.
Honestly, it really surprises me the different companies I've worked with, even, large companies. I'm ex-finance, as well as working in traditional finance. And I get to speak to a lot of startup founders as well. How far you can run a company on Google Sheets before you're like, okay, guys, we got to change this and change it quickly.
Yeah, exactly.
But it's pretty incredible. You wouldn't think that these companies would be still running these archaic systems, but sometimes it's just the path of least resistance at that moment in time.
True. But I think we're going to see a turning point here where, especially from a transparency point of view, when you're running a giveaway like that, just manually, there is no transparency. Like, you don't know who's picking those winners, and you don't know if that's happening fair, right? If someone's giving away a bunch of cars, I'm not going to name any names, but you've seen some creators give away cars, right?
Yeah.
How do you know those are going to a real person?
Yeah. And also, sometimes I've seen on these giveaways, it just happens to be the person who has the most influencer followers has won the prize, then posts about it, and you're like, this is so rigged.
Exactly.
This is ridiculous.
So that's part of our strategy here is to really establish Boost as the transparent, the fair option as well.
Sure.
To the point where if you see your favorite creator hosting a giveaway and they're not using Boost, that you would complain and say like, hey, why are you not using Boost? What do you have to hide?
You're the trust pilot.
Exactly. Yeah, that's a good way to put it. Exactly.
No, I love it. So there's obviously a lot of skepticism from the Web2 community when we speak about Web3. How do you handle that when you're speaking to these Web2 clients?
Yeah.
And probably who was the most surprising client that you ended up working with that came on board?
I would say, skepticism towards crypto and Web3 is very common in Web2. I will say since Trump and since his meme coin, it's become a little bit less.
Really?
We've seen more openness towards it, especially as the regulation around it is loosening up a little bit. So definitely seeing more people open towards it, but still a lot of skepticism. And, that's really all comes down to how we position Boost. So that's basically why we set up Boost as a separate platform so that we can fully abstract the crypto away from it as well. So at the end of the day, it's a Web3 platform. In the background, you've got all these blockchain transactions happening, but it's its own platform. It's Web2 focused in terms of content as well. You're not going to find, a USDC giveaway on Boost.gg, right? It's fully Web2 focused. And through the cleverly designed sort of token utility and deeply integrated into the product, you won't realize that you're interacting with a crypto product either. And we're not pushing Boost as a sort of speculation play or an investment play, right? It's all about like, hey, you guys have a problem, we're fixing it. Come use our platform. And it just so happens to have a bunch of features that interact with a token, right? But because of how we position it through the account abstraction and gas sponsorship, you won't even realize you're interacting with crypto. And that's the most powerful thing. And that's why, they're more open towards it.
I see. And who was the most surprising client that you brought on board?
I would say the Cyben because it was our first one, right? The Cyben was the very first client that we onboarded. And I would say, that's definitely the most surprising one because they're so huge and it was such a big event. And we were at that event as well with the team.
Tell us about the event. Where was it?
Wembley Stadium, London. 90,000 fans.
Wow.
Fully sold out. It's incredible.
Yeah.
Incredible. And we were there to network with, of course, the management of the Cyben and all these different creators. Very powerful. Very powerful.
I think one of the most incredible things, for myself, coming from a traditional finance background and then kind of coming into this crazy world of crypto over the last 5 or so years, is that you get to meet the most incredible people and you end up in situations with people who you never ever expected. And I am always just kind of waiting for someone to tap me on the shoulder and be like, yeah, Charis, you're not supposed to be here. You need to leave. And I'll be like, yep, totally understand. Yep, thank you very much for having me. I'll see you later.
Yeah.
What are you feeling like when you're in that? You're there, you're in Wembley Stadium, you're meeting all these incredible people.
Yeah.
Are you nervous? Do you have imposter syndrome? Be honest with me.
Yeah, sometimes. Yeah, for sure. And actually, one of our partners, Eyal Bamel, he manages part of Mr. Beast's business as well. And he's talent manager of some amazing talent on a global level, hundreds of millions, if not billions of followers combined. And I was with him at that event, and he actually gave you some very helpful advice. He's like, hey, you always walk into a room like you belong there. Because if you don't, you'll get, they'll pick you up and they're like, hey, should you be here right now? So, and because of that, with him, all access, we were able to walk into all of the rooms and meet, whoever we had to meet. So I definitely see that. And I think it's just an experience thing where, once you walk into enough of these rooms, you'll feel more like you belong there as well.
Yeah. It's definitely that kind of fake it till you make it.
Yeah, for sure. Well, as a new company, you kind of have to, right?
You have to.
Yeah.
You have to. And it definitely for Web3 founders or even Web2, I know this is something Yat, our founder, speaks about a lot, is that as a founder, you cannot hide behind your keyboard anymore.
Yeah.
You have to be out doing these podcasts, doing press, meeting with people, as well as, Discord and Twitter and so forth as well.
Yeah.
But you can't hide anymore. You need to have your own brand as well as the brand of your company too.
For sure. But what you mentioned as well about, the spaces you enter and the people you meet. Just last night, I was at an event from our good friend Mickey from Arcadia. He was hosting the Token Accord.
Nice.
And then, I'm there, and all of a sudden we're sitting at a table with, the CEO of one of the largest online casinos.
Oh, yeah.
And it's just like, I came to a crypto event, and here we are with like a huge casino guy.
Yeah.
Right? It's so interesting.
Yeah. Maybe I won't tell all the stories on the podcast and marketing girls will get mad at me. But yeah, sometimes you find yourself just mind-blowing. We're incredibly lucky. And
for sure. But also back to the Ape List as well. I remember some of the members we had there. I mean, Emmy award-winning producers, some coaches of clubs like Chelsea, right? Just amazing athletes, and you're all just there together in a Discord server. You're hanging out in voice chats. Yeah, you're hanging out in voice chats, and it's like, oh, what are you guys up to? Oh, I have to coach for a game right now, and it's Chelsea, and it's like, oh, okay, all right.
Of course, of course.
Yeah, so that's fantastic to see.
It's kind of beautiful though, like especially in nascent industries, which I probably would still describe crypto and blockchain as, although I think we're kind of tilting through it. The barrier to entry is it's getting higher now, but it was reasonably low. And so everyone's in this same space, trying to figure it out as they go, welcoming all these amazing and different people into it. So it just allowed for this like melting pot of everything from like celebrities to investors to billionaires to crypto bros and models. It's pretty wild, but I love it. Talking about creators, platforms like YouTube and TikTok, they're taking large cuts of earnings from their creators. How do you think about Boost kind of changing the economics for creators? And would you say the definition of a creator has changed throughout the time as well?
Yeah, no, great question. I see Boost as a way for creators to supplement their income, right? They're still creating content. They're doing live streams. They're publishing videos on YouTube or whatever platform they use. And Boost very much integrates into that. So it's like, hey, a creator might partner with a brand. If, for example, for me, when I go to YouTube, I'll see Manscaped everywhere, right? Yeah. They're everywhere. They're partnering with every creator. And a brand like that...
Strangely, I'm not getting that. But.
Oh, yeah. I wonder why. A brand like that is partnering with so many creators. And right now, it's just like coupon codes or things like that. And sometimes they'll do some giveaways. But that's basically the most powerful way for them to supplement their income, which is these brand activations. And if you think about it, that's exactly what's happening in Web3 as well. It's projects collaborating with creators and communities to distribute their whitelist, to get exposure. And it's basically the same thing happening in Web2. It's just a different sort of currency. So it's a way for them to supplement their income, to basically get more revenue, but also to get rewards in for their community. And that's, for example, what the Sidemen did. Is that wasn't about a monetary thing. That was all about like, hey, how can we activate our community? And they've got a huge community of followers. Hundreds of millions of followers combined. And they were like, hey, how can we activate them? And in the process, reward them, right? Because we gave away 10 tickets to their sold-out event. So it's a beautiful way to get engagement, to reward your audience, and to collaborate with other brands.
I love it. And all at the same time, keeping it very easy from a UX perspective for the consumer to come on consume the platform, I guess. And
Exactly. Yeah, we've really spent a lot of time, and we've got an amazing dev team, amazing CTO, and we're expanding the dev team with more engineers. And it's all about seamless onboarding. So
Yeah.
you enter the platform, you click a link right from your creator, you click the link. It's a one-tap sign-in with Meta or YouTube or Twitch. Then you're in, and you can just engage. That's it. One-time account creation, and then of course post TGE. Once the token is live, you can just start interacting with it as well. And you actually have fiat on-ramps in the app. So say you're a mobile, you can just Apple Pay your way in.
Perfect.
So you see a campaign, you're like, oh, I really want to interact with this using a token. You can go Apple Pay, $10, $50, however much you want, and just start interacting with it. And that is, of course, what really excites me is our unique ability here, where we can actually tap into a huge Web2 audience and then actually have them interact with a token because of that deeply integrated utility and the account abstraction.
I think this is a really interesting way. I know it's super cringe, and I promised I wouldn't say it, but like onboarding.
Oh, no.
Whatever many. Pick your number.
We're bridging Web 2 and Web 3. No, I've heard that so many times.
World. But it is an interesting way to not trick people, but at the end of it, you're onboarding these users, and then by the way, it's crypto in the background. Because even for me, I've been in crypto for like 8 years now, and still sometimes when I'm bridging between like different protocols, and then I have to like swap this and do this, and I'm like, oh my goodness, where is it again? I think I've lost like so much crypto just because of like pure bad administration. It gets so difficult at the end of the day. That it's nice to see that there's products coming out now, especially with account abstraction, which is just allowing that seamless onboarding from there.
That's consumer crypto, right? And I think that's really the only way that you can actually onboard a large user base. Because imagine this, right? Like say the sidemen were to host another campaign, the token is live, and we have token utility. Imagine if we didn't have account abstraction. The alternative would be for their audience to go download MetaMask, save their seed phrase, and then figure out where to buy a token, and somehow not click on a bad link in the process. So, it's just impossible. We need account abstraction. We need these principles in place to onboard the masses. Out
of curiosity, do you have the demographics on your user base? Like, where are they? How old they are?
Yeah.
And do you know if they were in? Is there a way to tell if they were in crypto beforehand or not? Maybe that's a little bit harder.
That is a little bit more difficult. But specifically, so in Web 2, it really depends on which sort of time period we look at. For example, when we hosted the Cyber campaign, it was very UK heavy, right? Because it was an event in the UK, and Cyber is very popular there as well. But in Web 3, actually, and a lot of people are surprised about this, we actually have about 36%, I believe it is, last time I checked, North America, so US and Canada.
Really? That's great.
Yeah, and about 20% Europe, and a lot in some great places in Asia as well.
Because the default would be like Southeast Asia, I think, or India, or maybe those regions.
Exactly. It's all because of our roots as well, and because of all the great communities using our platform, right? And it's really because of these requirements that they set as well, and this is why... I know we had a conversation about this as well. Like our bot rate is on the low end, very much because of these higher value communities, these higher value requirements, where it's almost impossible to set up or run a bot farm if you need to buy a 1 Ethereum NFT for each account, right? Or even more. Like in some cases, people are running giveaways using NFTs of like 20 or 50 Ethereum, right? Because of that, we have a very high value user base.
And how do you think about retention of your consumers? Because everything feels like attention economy, even from a crypto perspective. I guess you can kind of think it's meme coins, some sort of form of attention economy. When people think about it, the price goes up. When they're not really talking about it, the price goes down. It's a very simple model. How do you keep your consumers coming back? Is it just more and more campaigns? And then if so, how do you think about the evolution of Alphabot as well?
I would say more and more campaigns. And for us, it's really all about positioning it as a central hub. So Alphabot is really a central hub for Web3 for these types of campaigns. And, if you go to our raffles page, right, in Web3, we call them raffles. But if you go to that page, you see at any given time, you'll see between 2,000 or 3,000 active giveaways that you can go enter. And that is very powerful because it becomes a central hub where you could go, find giveaways from your favorite creators, from the communities you're a part of, or some companies that you like. But you can also see everything else that's going on. And that's where you basically get this network effect, this cross-pollination between different communities. And that's also what excites us so much about Web 2, because that doesn't really exist yet in Web 2. Web 2, currently, these giveaways are all sort of isolated, right? You'll see Mr. Beast giving away 26 Teslas on his Instagram, but that's the only giveaway you're seeing, right? There's nothing else. So with Boost, we're positioning it as the new global hub as well for giveaways, where, hey, if the Sidemen, they launch a giveaway, you as a community member or as a fan, you come onto our platform for that one giveaway, but then you're going to see, all the other giveaways on the platform. And before you know it, you're coming back daily because there's just so much great value, right?
Yeah.
And it's basically a no-brainer for these users to come on board, because all they have to do is just click a few buttons and they could potentially win a life-changing prize.
Yeah. It feels respectfully so simple, but so great at the same time. Do you know what I mean? Like, it is something that, you can explain to your mum.
Exactly.
As I point to Alex's mum, who's in the
learning
audience
about
right
what we're
now.
doing now.
Yeah, no, this is good.
Yeah.
I mean,
But
should be able
no.
to quiz it afterwards. But what I was just quickly thinking is that, like, I'll plug Australia a little bit. Afterpay was probably one of our best startups that came out of Australia. It's a buy now, pay later.
Oh yeah.
Right,
Like
and
Klarna.
which then was copied by Klarna and a whole bunch of different startups around the world. And the value of the asset of the company, yes, it came from the users, but it came from, they then created a platform where they created Afterpay Day and all these other different sales days, where instead of going to all these individual different shops, you went to the Afterpay website to see where you could get the discount. And so that's where that network effect started to work from there.
Exactly.
Yeah.
You know what's another really good example out of Australia? LMCT Plus. Have you
Tell
heard of
me?
it?
No.
Oh, it's have you ever heard of Adrian Portelli?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, he's the guy who lifted his McLaren into his penthouse.
Yeah.
Very successful entrepreneur. So LMCT Plus is one of his businesses, and he does something very similar there, where he focuses just on Australia, but he's got a sort of a platform where they host big ticket item giveaways, and you have to buy entries into it. But you're not buying an entry directly into the giveaway. You're buying a membership for a month, and it's recurring revenue, and that gives you access to a bunch of different coupons. So it's almost like a membership.
Yeah.
A very interesting model, and we're looking to replicate a few different aspects of that as well, as it's very powerful, where the marketing narrative of that as well is incredible. And I mean, we're not looking to, of course, charge people for entries to giveaways, because that really limits as to what your target audience is. But the marketing narrative of giving away big ticket items is incredible, because imagine someone in the middle of nowhere just grinds out our app, spends a few 30 minutes a day on it, enters a bunch of campaigns, and then ends up winning a life-changing prize. Well, we turn that into a video, we push it out as content across the different channels that we have, and it's incredibly powerful to onboard new users, because who doesn't want to win something very cool?
Sure.
Yeah, exactly.
And this doesn't come under the definition of like a lottery.
No, so that's the key difference there is as long as no purchase is required, you're good. So what the other platform I just described, they're using a sort of loophole, as they call it, a membership. It gives you access to discounts and coupons. That's exactly why we don't charge for entries, because then you get into a different regulatory.
Yeah, because I do remember when we were looking at and doing due diligence, we were kind of thinking about that, and then the concern around bots, because the thought would be like, well, if you charge for it, then you'll get less bots, and then the data would come through. But then if you do charge for it, it would end up being lotteries.
Exactly. So indirectly, it is possible to gate giveaways, right? And that's fine. So for example, setting a Discord requirement where hey, you might be paying for that Discord requirement, but it doesn't happen on our platform, or an NFT that's needed, a decentralized asset where indirectly you still need to purchase something in order to be part of the community, but at that point it's different, right? And unfortunately, we have a very strong legal team there who's able to assist us with that. But that's one of the challenges that we overcame with Boost as well, is doing this at a global level and then complying with all the different laws is not easy, right? But fortunately, we have a great legal team, and we do have to actually fend some countries off, so we are doing that.
Sure.
Where it's just not possible to to find a viable way. But at the end of the day, they're not major countries, so that's all right.
So tell me, Alex, what are the upcoming new features or expansions to Boost and Alphabot that you want to talk about? We'd love to know what's coming next in the runway.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah. I can drop a little bit of alpha. So Alphabot is all about serving more token communities, and we launched our raids feature, which hopefully you saw. It's basically a way to get constant automatic engagement on your tweets, and it's a very decentralized, very automated system. So Alphabot is all about getting more, token-related features out there, onboarding new chains. We currently have 45 different blockchains on Alphabot, so wow. A lot of different chains. So we're looking at onboarding a bunch of more great partners, a lot of established companies in the Web3 space. So that's really Alphabot. The mission there is, of course, to maintain our dominance. And to develop new features, and it's all about what do our users actually want, right? So we're constantly listening to user feedback. I'm getting, I still get DMs to this day of people saying like, hey, I'd love to get this, or could you please build this, right? And beyond that, we have a very efficient feedback collection system with our support team. But Boost is all about achieving the masses. So we have the credibility. We've worked with some of the biggest YouTubers, some of the biggest companies in the space. And now we are scaling up our business development and sales team. We're in the process of onboarding an actual content creator who will be living on our Instagram page, creating content for, nice. To onboard new creators in Web2, to onboard new users in Web2. We're scaling the team rapidly there. And just really all about achieving the mass, right? Because what we saw now with Boost is that, hey, like we've dominated the Web3 space. And what we saw now with Boost, the sort of validation, the traction that we saw, gives us a very good idea of, that we can do the same in Web 2.
I love it. Look, Alex, before we wrap up, I have a little fun thing to do.
Okay, here we go.
Okay, so I have my magic bell that I brought with me, and I'm going to rapid fire about eight questions with you, okay?
Okay.
So just don't think about it too much, all right?
All right.
But we'll start. All right. Who has hosted the best event at Token this year?
The best event?
Yeah.
I'm going to have to say us.
Nice. Okay. What was your worst trade?
Trade?
Yeah.
Oh.
Crypto trade.
Oh. Buying Clonex at like 8 Ethereum.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. Important question. Stroopwafel or bitterballen?
Bitterballen.
Nice.
On a sunny afternoon on the terrace? Ooh, forget about it.
You love it?
Yeah.
I don't know. Do you have your phone on you right now?
Yeah.
Okay. Tell me what was the last thing you Googled? Oof. Does he know? And will he be honest?
Last thing I Googled? Oh, it's not. Network graphic, an image.
Okay. Great.
I have to give some feedback to the marketing team.
I love it. If the Dutch government launched a coin, what do you think they would call it?
Dutch government launched a coin.
Yeah, a crypto coin.
I would say they would go back to like the classics, like the Golder.
Nice.
Yeah.
Love it. Love it. Okay. What do you think is more dead? The tulip market in 1637 or ETH in 2025?
I still believe. I'm delusional. So let's say the
I believe as well. I think it's going to be all right. Okay. Dead or alive, if you could hire anyone to join your team, who would it be?
If I could hire anyone to join our team. Ooh, that's tough to pick one.
I know. That's the whole point. This is the cutting edge journalism that people expected from this podcast from me.
I love that. Listen, low hanging fruit would be to say Elon Musk so we can tell him how to improve Twitter.
Nice.
But
make it better for yourself. Okay, last question. What is the best piece of advice that you have received as a founder?
Honestly, the best piece of advice, and I mean, this is not really, thinking about, the first thought that comes to mind here, I would say is just to get started, just push out a product as soon as possible and get feedback and just launch that MVP.
No, I love it. I love it. Alex, this has been such a pleasure. Thank you for joining us today.
Thank you for having me.
Where can people find you? Where can people find Alphabot and Boost?
All over X. I'm Dutch Broere. That's my Web3 name.
Nice.
Of course, we're Alphabot app and boost.gg on Twitter.
I loved it. Thank you so much for hanging out with me today. This has been the Metaverse Podcast from Animoca. If you like today's content, please like and subscribe, clicking the buttons below. Alex, thank you so much. See you next time.
Thanks for having me. Cool.
Click.
Awesome.